Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to the channel, and surprisingly, EA have just announced, before the game has even released, the first season of content for Battlefield 6, the release date, everything that's going to be in there. I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised. I don't know what's going on right now. EA is just giving out W after W, especially after the live action trailer just this last weekend, so we're going to jump into everything in the video. As always, if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the content around Battlefield 6, I'm going to be doing tons of guides once the game drops on the 10th. This is the channel for you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. So they've just dropped this tweet a few minutes ago. It says, Season 1 of Battlefield 6 begins October 28th on all platforms. Free content rolls out across the season in 3 phases. So October 28th, that is just 18 days after the release of the game. That is around 2.5 weeks. That is extremely unexpected, although to be fair, I had heard a leak that this was potentially going to be the date, so I'm not that surprised, but even EA, I didn't think was capable of that. So here is a little image of the content we're going to be getting, and I really like the cadence or the pacing of this. So first of all, on October the 28th, we have Rogue Ops, and the new map there is called Blackwell Fields. Now this is the Badlands map that you guys will have probably seen leaks of. It's now going to be called Blackwell Fields. The Badlands was just the internal name. There's a new mode called Strike Point, which, judging by the icon there, looks like it may be, well, some sort of an elimination mode. There's a new vehicle called the Traverser Mark II, and I guess this is just kind of like the Jeeps that are in the game, but maybe with a little bit more of an arsenal to it. A new carbine, the SAW 300 SC. We've got a new sidearm, the GGH-22. A new sniper rifle, the Mini Scout, and then new attachments, rail covers, and the LPVO, whatever that is. And it also says and more, which usually means there's not much more, but maybe I'll be wrong about that. Now that's just the first part of the season. Then on November the 18th, so less than a month later, we get California Resistance, and the new map for this one is of course going to be Eastwood. I'm sure you guys will have seen concept art and leaks around this one. We get another, this time a limited time mode called Sabotage. Sounds like it could be a little bit similar to something like maybe Search and Destroy. Obviously, I'm just kind of guessing by the icon. We've got Battle Pickups, so that's a new feature coming to the game. And anybody who's been keeping up to date with the leaks will recognize that icon there. That is actually the model of the railgun, I believe. So I think that's going to be one of the battle pickups. We got a new shotgun, the DB12, a new sidearm, the M357. So that's going to be the smaller revolver. I did notice that in the game we've got like something like an M44, and one of the smaller, like the Rex type revolver was missing. So that's good to see. And then we've got a new attachment, the Troy Angled. And then finally on December the 9th, we have Winter Offensive. This is going to be an ice-locked version of Empire State. So this is a limited time event map, and as you can tell, it's basically a winter version of the Empire State map. I think this really fits the theme well. Obviously, New York is kind of known for its harsh winters. The Ice Lock time limited event there as well, and then we get an ice climbing axe, which is a new melee weapon. So I would say, like, okay, like that third part of the season is much more underwhelming than the other 2 parts, but even so, at least we're getting this time around 2 maps instead of the one that we saw in Battlefield 2042. I also like the pacing of this, the fact that they're spacing this out. They're not just giving us all of the content, and then, you know, we end up with the same problem that we had in previous games where there's just far too long of a lull between content. I much prefer it this way, where we get the one map, we can play on that, we can unlock a few new weapons, and then like less than a month later, just 2-3 weeks later, we get the second map. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments though. I would of course definitely be interested to hear your guys' take on it. But for me, 1 new vehicle, 5 new weapons, some new attachments, 2 maps, a couple of game modes, you know, I would say like a half of the map really, because Empire State is still a map that exists in the game. I'm not sure this is just like a new sort of version of it. I think that's a pretty decent offering of content. I've always said that like 2 maps is the absolute minimum that they can really afford to go with Battlefield 6. They've delivered on that. Now, what it's going to be like for additional seasons, of course, remains to be seen, just because EA have delivered a first season here very early on, or are going to be delivering in Battlefield 6's lifespan, doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to continue on forward. But what I would expect is that at the end of the season on December 9th, there's going to be a bit of a break for Christmas time, and New Year. And then we're going to be getting our second proper season in January. And I think what they'll do around Christmas and New Year is probably some like specific themed events for those holidays. However, one thing that is being left out here, and the leak that I mentioned earlier, which did reveal and was accurate, obviously, that the first season was going to release on October the 28th, also said that the Battle Royale would be releasing on October the 28th along with Season 1. So since they were right about that date, I'm now inclined to believe that they're also correct about the Battle Royale. Now, EA haven't announced this yet, but if that does come out at the same time, well, we're going to have a whole lot more content to go at. Now, if you don't like Battle Royales, you may feel like you don't really have any extra content there, but I would urge you to give it a try. I can't really talk about it, but I have played it, and all I'm going to say is I was surprised. I was surprised. So I'm going to leave it there for today. Tomorrow, I'll be putting out a bit of an informational roundup on everything you need to know for Battlefield 6's launch. So preload times, release times, file sizes, what the various pre-orders and everything include. So keep an eye out for that one. Don't forget to hit that sub button. Leave a like below if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.